Is Your Life, and tonight I'm taking care of Harrods for the next few minutes. That is Father Christmas and myself. Although even he is not quite what he seems to be, because beneath that luxuriant beard is a visitor from Falcon Crest. And we're both awaiting the arrival of a very glamorous film star who's expecting to be filmed, arriving to take part in a seasonal program about shopping. But what she doesn't know, of course, is that we have her first Christmas present ready. May I put it into your sack, Santa?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Very good.
Just ask you one question.
Yes.
Where does she think that you are?
Well, actually, she thinks that I'm in pool.
Would you mind telling me, Santa, how you conveyed this piece of disinformation to the young lady?
Over breakfast this morning with the bacon and the eggs.
True. Now, that'll intrigue you, because... Now, let's just hold our position, because we have her in a very beautiful white Rolls Royce, which is, I think, I see further down here in Knightsbridge. Here we go. Good evening, madam. Care to see what Santa has in his basket for you? Special Christmas present, Santa Claus? Yes, so that we can say to film actress, stage actress Susan George, tonight this is your life.
No! I don't believe it! I don't believe it!
Oh, thank you,
You can't
Santa.
do this to me!
What do you think of Santa, eh?
Hello?
Hello, my dear.
What's this? The cockatoo! You stinking rotten thing! I'll kill you! I'll kill you!
Well done, Simon.
Well done, Eamon. Very good.
Come on, back into the roller. We're going to tell each other loads of
I
times.
don't
I can see a bit of a shake on there.
God, I'm absolutely
Come on, in you go, Santa. In your other capacity.
In my other capacity.
Lights in front there. Here we go. And of course, a big thank you to Simon McCorkindale for that Oscar-like performance as Santa Claus, a far cry from your Falcon Crest role as Greg Reardon. You almost blew it, though, didn't you, just as Susan was about to arrive?
Well, literally, as the Rolls Royce was appearing, I suddenly realized I had this bracelet on my wrist that she was bound to recognize as I hoisted the book out of the bag. So I quickly took it off and then realized I had no pocket, so it's secreted in my underpants.
All right, Susan, your career stretches back to when you were only a small child and now includes some 25 films like Straw Dogs, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry and Spring and Port Wine, in a career that has won you many plaudits around the world. In Out of Season, for instance, you starred with a famous name who tonight, from across the Atlantic, salutes you, Cliff Robertson.
I can tell you, Aman, that there are a few actresses who can do it all, and I think that Susan George, as young as she is, potentially can do it all. I think she can cover all the bases. I enjoyed working with her tremendously, and I felt then that this was the girl that could have played just about any role that one could imagine. She has a tremendous background. Starting as a youngster, naturally she's had a chance to develop the natural talent she has, and I congratulate her on her career, and I look forward to a very promising future for Susan George. Goodbye, Susan.
Thank you, Cliff Robertson in New York. Well, now, Cliff, of course, is only one of your leading men, Susan, but we know that there's no one like the leading man alongside you tonight, your husband Simon, whom you recently married. And Simon, Susan was determined to have as romantic a wedding as possible. Right?
Oh, absolutely, Eamon. And sitting next to me is probably the world's most incurable romantic. I'm afraid Scunthorpe just wouldn't do. It had to be Fiji underneath the palm trees.
And there you both are on your paradise island, garlanded with flowers. And it seems the Fijians were determined to make it especially memorable for you both. Now, Simon, when you went there, you hadn't even arranged for your best man, had you?
No, I hadn't. And obviously we arrived, two strangers in this land trying to work out what on earth to do. We were advised that the concierge was the best man for the job. He arranged the whole thing. He even taught me a little Fiji, and his name was Taito.
And, of course, you haven't seen him since, but if you look at that screen, it's Fijian secret wedding troubleshooter and family, Taito Raurasia.
Hello, Susan. Hello, Simon. This is Taito, greeting you from Fiji. I'm here with my wife, Marianne, and the family, and some of your close Fijian friends who are with you during your wedding at the historical and Chifley village of Visese. Please come back and see us someday. Nisa Mode. Mode Su.
Thank you, Taito. Susan George, this is your life, and there's someone who will never, ever forget your first appearance on stage.
What a start. You were only 4, and you fell flat on your face.
Yes, of course, your mum, Billy George. Your dad, Norman, and your sister, Pam. Well, of course, Susan, show business was in your blood from the beginning, and your mother, Billy, was something of a high kicker herself on the chorus line. Tell us about that first appearance of Susan's, Billy, when she was age 4.
She had to model a dressing gown at a very important hotel in London. She went out quite happily, but unfortunately fell flat on her face, tripped over the dressing gown.
Norman, you're a musician, of course, and years later you starred with Susan in Straw Dogs.
Yes, I did. I did exactly 4 days on the set, and on the 5th day, in a 2-second flash, I was the star.
Susan, you were born in Surbiton, Surrey, on the 26th of July, 1950, and right from the beginning you seemed to have that affinity with the camera that was eventually going to make you famous. Now, for many years, home was at the Court Hotel, Maidenhead, which your parents owned. Here you are, age 6, Susan, already perfecting that famous Susan George look. And not long after your 6th birthday, you were making your television debut in commercials for Sugar Puffs, Air Travel, and Fish Fingers. She looks very happy there, Pam, doesn't she?
Don't be deceived by the smile, Eamon. She hated Fish Fingers for life after that.
In fact, Susan, you were soon to become part of a famous generation of actors for whom it all began at the Corona Stage School in Chiswick. Many of your former classmates are now familiar faces on our television screens.
But I think we all learned as much at Hernando's Hideaway as we did at Corona.
Yes, it's that star of television's Emmerdale Farm. You see each other all too infrequently nowadays, Fraser Hines. So, Fraser, what exactly was Hernando's Hideaway?
Well, Hernando's would a little sort of dive we used to skive off to. If we didn't like ballet classes, we used to sling our bags over the wall, go to Hernando's downstairs and smoke and drink and things like that, and then go back to school when the ballet class was over. But of course, Sue would never do anything like that as naughty, did you?
No.
No, not at all.
Thank you, Fraser Hines. Fraser Hines wasn't the only young hopeful with you at the Corona School. There was another young fellow who was to become a star, an old friendship you were to renew in 1971 when you were cast together in the film Fright.
Typical. This is typical of you, trying to frighten people all the time. You ought to see a psychiatrist.
But you're the one who's seeing things.
You live in a world of fantasy. I was reading about people like you. They say it's a result of sexual frustration.
Yeah. Well, that's not my fault either.
Well, you needn't think I'm going to cure you.
I don't have to tell you that your co-star there was, of course, Dennis Waterman.
Good evening, Eamon. Good evening, Sue. How are you? I'm sorry I can't be with you, but the great theatre-going public of Guildford are paying my wages at the moment, so I've got to be here. The last time we worked together, I think we worked together 3 times, and I thought I'd had it made on that film because I had a couple of lovely scenes with you, and then I died very early in the film, which I thought was excellent because they'd offered me quite good money. So I thought I'd come in, be romantic with Susan, and then get killed and then run away with the money. But what I didn't understand was that, probably because my failure of reading scripts, of course, is that I died in the hallway. So every time the front door opened or the lounge door opened or somebody came out of the kitchen, there was this body, which was me, covered in blood. So I was there for weeks just being stepped over by some of the greatest names in British film. And what I find interesting is we are about the only 2 people that haven't been linked to each other romantically. And I have to say this with all sadness, all through the years that you've ever known me, you've found me totally irresistible, Susan. So have a lovely evening, and I'll be thinking of you.
Thank you, Dennis Waterman in Guildford. Well, not all film, Susan, but West End stage success as well.
When I heard you were going to be my co-star, I couldn't wait to get started.
Your romantic lead in The Country Girl, passionate Patrick Moore. I'm thinking the same question, Susan. I know that you've been good friends for a long time, but as she says, what's all this?
Well, actually, I had the great pleasure of working with Susan in A Country Girl at the Apollo for 4 months, and every night I had to give her a mad, passionate, violent kiss on the stage, and every night in return she gave me a mad, passionate, violent slap round the face, and tonight I wasn't taking any chances.
Thank you, Patrick Moore. Well, of course, Susan, impatient as you were for stardom, you had to finish school first, and you went to school at the Holy Trinity in Cookham in Berkshire. Now, that hurry to escape made those years seem longer. It didn't endear you to your teachers, but there was one teacher who understood that dreamy look on your face at the back of the class.
Mr. Roberts. Hello, Susan. Do you remember your old school? And the time when you used to stand at my shoulder and weep and worry about whether 1 and 1 made 2, 3, 4, whatever. And then you'd go back to your old pal, Cathy Groves, at the back of the room and have another weep. I knew then that maths and all that kind of nonsense weren't for you. You should remember your old classroom, but do you remember this lineup? They're a lot older now, but I wonder if they're wiser. Here's Laurel Turner, Maura Cooper, Bridget Jones, Marcia Salter, Mary Millard, and Michael Chatterton. And of course, this is your desk.
And here they all are, your classmates from Holy Trinity School, all meeting for the first time again in 25 years. Laurel Turner, Bridget Jones, Marcia Salter, Mary Millard, Moira Cooper, Michael Chatterton, and with them your favorite teacher, Maths Master Robbie Robinson. Well, now, Susan, you thought, of course, that you'd left all school behind when you went to audition for the lead role in Twinkie, but you were wrong. Now, Billy, you know what we're talking about there.
She went to the audition, came back, rushed upstairs and dressed herself up in clothes to make her look old. Went off, came back again. What's going on, thought I. She then put on her old school uniform. Hat, blazer, the lot. Went back, and Eamon, you know the rest.
Indeed, she pretended to be someone else entirely and got the part. And second time round, that is, you were successful in Twinkie. got it right there.
I do that every morning.
In 1976, you continued to make pulses rise when you began ordering around a man who was among the very few in real life who not only took the great Muhammad Ali the full distance, but actually took away his world heavyweight title.
Now,
And you were to meet him in
when
Mandingo.
Mr. Hammond comes home, well, I gotta tell him. I gotta tell him what you done. What you think he gonna do? Whoop you? Sell you? Oh, no, maid. He's gonna kill you.
He won't believe you, Miss Blanche.
Starring there with you, of course, was former world heavyweight champion, the great Ken Norton. Well, Ken, as you know, despite a dreadful car crash, you decided to make the trip for Susan all the way from Los Angeles.
Oh, well, Susan helped me quite a bit when I first started. I didn't know anything. And she took the lumps with me. So I said, what the heck? Give me a plane.
Thank you, Ken Norton. A pleasure to meet you. Susan, the champ here wasn't the only wild man you had to tame. In Venom, you took on another famous Hellraiser. He remains one of your closest friends, and he now sends you this modest message.
Hello, Eamon. And hello, Susan. I've always been in love with you, my darling. Right from the very first time on the Gay Byrne show. Then again in Canada when you ignored me and got whiplashed. Do you remember? You turned me down on the date. And then I went to judge Miss World, and I lost that because you were escorted by John Conti, who was middleweight champion of the world. After that, I made a movie with you, but before I could really buck up the courage to invite you out to dinner, you had gone back to Hollywood. And the last time was when I was over in Los Angeles making a film with Olivia Newton-John, who's a friend of yours. And I thought, here is my chance. Went to say goodnight to Olivia Newton-John. You opened the door. I thought, here is my opportunity to hide my shyness. You turned round and you said, Oliver, here is Simon. I'm going to marry him. Have a good time. You'll love it tonight.
Thank you, Oliver Reed. Well, away, Susan, from some of the wild men you've starred with, your idea of the perfect holiday is to retreat to your home and enjoy the company of two pals you're always so miserable to be away from. You left them at home tonight with another great friend because Beadle's about.
Hi, Sue. What a nice, comfortable bed you've got here. Do you know, I've always fantasised about being in Susan George's bed, and now that I've made it, these two friends of yours... I mean... OK, Kelly, there it is. Say, who's pretty boy? And Ollie here. All I've got to say is, Sue, I think you're wonderful. I think you've got two of the loveliest little dogs in the world. It's a pity about Simon, but still, you can't have everything, can you? Should have waited for me, you know.
Well, Susan, Ollie and Kelly are fine now, especially as they've got rid of their night nurse, Jeremy Beadle. And now to Hollywood, a place where more dreams are destroyed than are realized. That didn't deter you, of course, when after your first successes here in Britain, you set off to conquer it alone. Now there you renewed a friendship with another young hopeful. You supported and helped each other. You even set up flat together. Tonight she's in her home in Malibu with someone making her world television debut especially for you. It's Olivia Newton-John and baby Chloe Newton-John.
Hi, Susie. Hi, Simon. Boy, I would have given anything to have seen your face when they did this to you. I would have died. And Chloe and I just want to say congratulations. You haven't seen her for a long time. Look at this monster. She's 10 months old now. You really deserve this. You've had a wonderful career, and as your friend, we've had some great times together, and don't worry, I'm not going to say a word. Everything's safe with me. So have a wonderful time and enjoy it, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Olivia Newton-John, and thank you to baby Chloe making her big debut. Well, back in 1962 in London's West End, hundreds of young hopefuls queued to audition for that landmark in the British musical, the first stage production of The Sound of Music. And among that crowd, an 11-and-a-half-year-old Susan George was determined to convince the director, Jerry Phillips, that he should pick her.
On that particular day, there were more than 200 hopefuls queuing outside the theatre around the block, just waiting to be auditioned for the show. You were one of those hopefuls, Susan. I was probably more nervous than you at the time, having to make the right decision. But as soon as you walked on stage, I had no doubts. And here's another member of that cast, the same happy family, Sheila White.
Hello, Sue. Do you remember all those wonderful times we had when we first joined the cast of The Sound of Music? We had fun, didn't we? Do you remember Mrs. Marsh, the chaperone? You were her favourite. I mean, you could get away with anything. Do you remember your favourite song, dear?
Melanie!
So long, farewell, I'll be the same tonight. I hate to go and leave this pretty sight. So long, farewell, I'll be the same adieu, 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 to you and you and you. So long, farewell.
And here they are together again for the first time in 24 years. Your first stage family, Susan, the Von Trapps of that first London stage production. Tonight it's So Long But Hello again for Jerry Phillips, Melanie Parr, Diane Grayson, Colin Page, Dave McAllister, Sue Fassmore, and Sheila White. Well, your first stage family are here, Susan, but they would not be complete without that lady who was mother to you all backstage 24 years ago. You haven't seen her since. Looking an unbelievable 80, Poppy Marsh. To you, Marshy. Well, we began, Susan, with the happiest day of your life, the day of that romantic wedding in the faraway South Seas. Afterwards, you and Simon were presented with traditional Fijian wedding garlands. Well, we've brought them here again tonight, all 14,000 miles from Fiji, and with them, your best man, Taito Raurasia. Finally, Susan, there was another woman who was central in your life from the time you were aged 1 until she died last year. The woman you knew as Doris Parker, was nanny, constant companion and friend. You said to me in the car just now how much she would have enjoyed tonight for you. And we know that it was in the company of Dor and an inseparable school friend that you all spent some of the happiest times of your lives. However, that friend left the desk beside you empty at Holy Trinity School when she emigrated 21 years ago. But she's never forgotten you or Dor. In fact, in all that time in Australia, she's carried around with her this crumpled picture of you and her when you were 10 years old. She's flown back 12,000 miles to see you again tonight for the first time in 21 years, Kathy Groves. Susan George, star of the silver screen, and stage, This Is Your Life.
really special. I said to Eamon in the car coming here that I was trying to think on the way to the show that I was supposed to be going to talk about my Christmas memories that I never got to. I said I was trying to think in the car of my favourite, of my very best Christmas present. I have to think no farther. This is it.